When people hear the phrase bedroom secrets, their minds immediately jump to sensational ideas. But the real story is far more psychological, far more human, and honestly far more revealing than anything physical. What stays hidden behind closed doors for the youngest adult men is not confidence, not dominance, not some movie-style mastery. It is uncertainty. It is pressure. It is the quiet fear of being exposed as not enough. The strongest secret is that most young men enter intimacy carrying a heavy script written by society, social media, and peer talk, and they spend more energy trying to perform that script than actually being present. From the outside, they appear bold, playful, even careless, but internally many are negotiating anxiety, expectations, and a deep hunger to be validated without having to ask for it. One of the least talked about truths is how much comparison lives in their minds. They compare themselves to friends, to stories they've heard, to exaggerated narratives online. They rarely compare emotionally. They compare imaginatively. And imagination is cruel when it is fed by unrealistic standards. This creates a loop where silence becomes a defense mechanism. They don't ask questions. They don't admit confusion. They don't say, "I'm nervous" or "I don't know what I'm doing." Instead, they act like they already know. The bedroom, which should be a space of ease and connection, quietly turns into a test room where they believe they're being graded, even when no one is holding a scorecard. Another secret is how deeply young men crave reassurance, not applause, but calm reassurance. They want to know they are wanted, not just tolerated. They want to feel chosen, not just convenient. Yet many don't know how to receive reassurance without feeling weak, so they pretend they don't need it. This emotional contradiction creates distance. They may joke, distract, or rush moments that require slowing down, because slowing down would mean feeling. And feeling, for many young men, has been taught as something to manage privately, not something to share. There is also the silent confusion between desire and connection. Many young men think they are chasing desire when in reality they are chasing closeness. They mistake attention for affection and validation for intimacy. When the moment ends and the noise fades, what lingers is not satisfaction but a strange emptiness they can't quite name. This is rarely discussed because it doesn't fit the confident image they believe they must maintain. So instead of questioning the pattern, they repeat it, hoping the next time will feel different. Fear of judgment plays a massive role. Young men are often more afraid of being laughed at or dismissed than being rejected outright. Rejection at least feels final. Judgment feels like it follows you. This fear shapes how honest they are, how vulnerable they allow themselves to be, and how much of their real personality they bring into intimate spaces. Many keep parts of themselves hidden, not because they are mysterious, but because they are protecting something fragile that hasn't yet been affirmed. Control is another misunderstood element. Some young men believe control equals confidence, but often control is just a response to insecurity. When someone feels unsure, they try to manage outcomes. They try to anticipate reactions. They try to stay one step ahead so they don't get hurt. True confidence doesn't need that level of management, but confidence takes time to develop, and youth is a season of learning, not mastery. There is also a quiet pressure to detach emotionally as quickly as possible. Many young men have learned that caring too much is risky, so they practice emotional minimalism. They tell themselves not to get attached, not to expect, not to hope. But emotions don't disappear just because they are ignored. They resurface later as confusion, restlessness, or sudden withdrawal. The bedroom becomes a place where they try to feel something without admitting they want to feel something. One of the biggest secrets is how rarely young men feel safe enough to be fully present. Presence requires trust, and trust requires believing you won't be shamed for being real. Many have not yet experienced that kind of safety, so they perform instead. They mirror what they think is expected. They copy behaviors they've observed, not ones they've understood. This creates a gap between who they are and how they show up, and that gap is exhausting. Over time, some begin to realize that confidence isn't loud and intimacy isn't about proving anything. It's about mutual awareness. It's about listening, responding, and allowing imperfection. But this realization usually comes after discomfort, after mistakes, after moments that didn't feel right but taught something important. Growth doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives with reflection. The quiet truth is that the youngest adult men are not hiding wild secrets. They are hiding soft ones: doubt, curiosity, the desire to be guided rather than expected to lead, the wish to be accepted without having to impress. When these truths are ignored, intimacy becomes mechanical. When they are acknowledged, intimacy becomes human. And the most important thing to understand is this: what transforms these hidden experiences isn't experience alone, it's awareness. The moment a young man understands that intimacy is not a performance, but a conversation, everything changes. He stops chasing an image and starts building a connection. He stops fearing silence and starts valuing presence. He stops hiding and starts learning. This shift doesn't make him perfect. It makes him real. And real is always more powerful than pretending to know everything. There is also an unspoken tension between curiosity and guilt that many young men carry into private spaces. Curiosity is natural, but guilt is learned. When no one teaches healthy understanding, curiosity turns into secrecy instead of communication. They don't lack questions, they lack safe places to ask them. So they experiment silently, often misunderstanding their own reactions, sometimes confusing emotional responses for weakness and physical responses for identity. This inner confusion stays hidden, yet it shapes how relaxed or guarded they feel in moments that require ease. Another layer is the pressure to always be ready mentally and emotionally, even when they are not. Fatigue, stress, self-doubt, and personal struggles don't disappear just because intimacy is expected. But many young men feel they must switch everything off and perform regardless of what they're carrying inside. This creates a disconnect between body and mind. When something feels off, they blame themselves instead of recognizing that emotional readiness matters just as much as physical presence. Silence after intimacy often carries more weight than words. Many young men don't know what to say, not because they don't feel anything, but because they fear saying the wrong thing. Vulnerability doesn't come with a manual, so they retreat into quietness, hoping their actions speak for them. Sometimes that silence is misunderstood as disinterest, when in reality it is uncertainty trying not to be exposed. There is also the hidden impact of early experiences. First impressions leave deep marks. A dismissive comment, a moment of embarrassment or feeling rushed can quietly shape future behavior. Young men rarely talk about these moments, but they remember them. They remember how they felt more than what actually happened. Those memories influence confidence, pacing, and trust long after the moment has passed. Many are also learning, slowly and awkwardly, that attraction is not just visual. Emotional safety, tone, patience, and responsiveness matter more than they were ever taught. This realization can feel destabilizing because it challenges everything they thought they knew. It forces them to unlearn shallow definitions and replace them with something deeper, something that requires awareness and emotional effort. And underneath all of this is the simple truth that young men are still becoming. They are forming identities, testing boundaries, and figuring out what feels authentic versus what feels expected. The bedroom becomes one of the most intense classrooms, not because of what happens there, but because it reflects who they are when no audience is watching. There is also a quiet battle between control and surrender that most young men don't have words for yet. Control feels safe because it protects the ego, but surrender requires trust, and trust is terrifying when you're still learning yourself. Many young men don't resist closeness because they don't want it. They resist it because closeness means being seen beyond the surface. And being seen means there is a chance of being misunderstood, rejected, or remembered in a way they can't manage. Another secret lives in how strongly mood affects them, even though they pretend it doesn't. Stress from career uncertainty, financial pressure, family expectations, or comparison with peers doesn't stay outside the room. It follows them quietly. When something feels off, they often internalize it as personal failure instead of recognizing external pressure. This is why some moments feel disconnected, rushed, or emotionally flat, not because there is no attraction, but because the mind is crowded. Young men also struggle with timing. They want to do things right, but they don't know what right means yet. They worry about being too slow and being too fast at the same time. This contradiction creates hesitation masked as confidence. They move forward while doubting themselves internally. And when feedback isn't clear, they assume the worst rather than asking for clarity. There is a strong desire to be remembered positively, not admired, not praised, but remembered as someone who didn't disappoint. This fear of disappointing often pushes them to prioritize outcome over experience. Instead of asking, "Are we connected right now?" they ask, "Am I doing this correctly?" That mental shift pulls them out of the moment, even when everything seems fine on the surface. Many young men also underestimate how sensitive they actually are. Sensitivity doesn't always look like emotion. Sometimes it looks like withdrawal, defensiveness, or humor. When something touches a vulnerable spot, they may change the subject, laugh it off, or become distant. These reactions aren't indifference, they're self-protection learned over time. Another rarely discussed truth is how deeply they want guidance without being controlled. They don't want to be corrected publicly or compared, but they appreciate calm direction, reassurance, and mutual rhythm. When that balance exists, confidence grows naturally. When it doesn't, they either overcompensate or shut down emotionally. And as they move through these experiences, many start to sense a quiet shift happening inside. They begin to notice that the moments that stay with them aren't the dramatic ones, but the gentle ones. The pauses, the feeling of being understood without explanation, the absence of pressure. These realizations don't arrive loudly, they arrive slowly, reshaping how they define intimacy, connection, and self-worth. There is also the hidden weight of expectations they never agreed to, but still feel responsible for carrying. Society rarely asks young men what they feel comfortable with. It tells them what they should already know. This creates a strange loneliness where they are surrounded by advice yet feel personally unguided. In private moments, that loneliness becomes louder. They may be physically present but mentally negotiating the fear of not matching an invisible standard that keeps shifting. Another quiet truth is how much approval shapes their behavior. Not approval in words, but in reactions. A smile, a pause, a change in tone can mean everything. Young men read these signals intensely, often more than they admit. When signals feel unclear, anxiety steps in. They replay moments in their heads afterward, wondering what they missed, what they should have done differently, and why clarity feels so rare. Many are also learning slowly that confidence doesn't come from experience alone, but from emotional safety. You can repeat the same moments many times and still feel unsure if safety is missing. This realization is uncomfortable because it shifts responsibility inward. It forces them to admit that growth requires self-awareness, not just repetition. There is also the unspoken fear of attachment. Attachment means vulnerability, and vulnerability means exposure. Some young men detach quickly not because they don't care, but because caring feels like losing control. They confuse independence with emotional distance and later wonder why connections feel shallow or incomplete. Another layer is how rarely they feel allowed to slow down. Everything around them pushes speed. Fast success, fast attraction, fast results. Slowing down feels like falling behind, but intimacy doesn't follow speed. It follows rhythm. Learning that rhythm takes patience, and patience is not something young men are often rewarded for early in life. They are also navigating identity in real time. Who they are in public doesn't always match who they are in private. In intimate spaces, this gap becomes visible to them, even if no one else sees it. That awareness can feel unsettling, but it's also where growth begins. Discomfort becomes a teacher when it's observed instead of avoided. Over time, some young men begin to notice that the moments they fear the most, silence, honesty, emotional presence, are the same moments that bring clarity. They start realizing that being impressive is less powerful than being sincere, and that connection doesn't demand perfection, only awareness. And this understanding continues to evolve quietly, shaping how they show up, how they listen, and how they allow themselves to be seen moment by moment. And here is the truth that ties everything together, the truth most young men discover only after confusion, silence, and self-doubt. Intimacy was never meant to be a battlefield where you prove your worth. It was meant to be a mirror where you recognize yourself. The moment a young man stops trying to impress and starts trying to understand, everything shifts. Pressure dissolves. Anxiety softens. Presence replaces performance. Strength stops being loud and becomes steady. Real confidence is not about knowing everything. It is about being grounded enough to learn without shame. The strongest version of a young man is not the one who hides uncertainty, rushes connection, or fears vulnerability. It is the one who allows himself to be human without apology. Because when awareness replaces ego, when sincerity replaces fear, and when presence replaces pressure, intimacy stops being a secret test and becomes an honest exchange. And that is where growth happens, not just in private moments, but in identity, self-respect, and the quiet certainty of knowing you no longer need to pretend to be someone else to be enough.